Hello, brothers. Why is America, a former superpower, slowly heading towards a fate similar to the Qing dynasty? History has a strange way of repeating itself. Does he remember the powers that entered the Qing dynasty? They brought opium with them. Now, America is staging an absurd self-destructive play. It seems like it has declared its own opium war. Zombie streets due to marijuana have already appeared in Philadelphia. Such scenes are reminiscent of those in China 150 years ago. California markets astonishingly propose to distribute fentanyl to the homeless, a concept even Americans can't understand. How could they distribute drugs to their own people? It's ironic that the US, which participated in the Eight-Nation Alliance invasion, is now performing the same play on its own soil. As the powers climb peak after peak, they will find that the Qing has long been waiting there. There is a remarkable company in America called Purdue Pharma. It achieved astounding results by itself. It destroyed the American industrial elite class. It wasted 3 entire generations. American youth brought the level of corruption to that of Africa. It obliterated the conscience of American academia. It severely diminished the combat effectiveness of the US military. How did they achieve this? With a drug called OxyContin. From 1996 to 2019, Purdue Pharma's net income reached $34 billion. Most of it came from OxyContin. In 2001, this drug accounted for 80% of the company's total income. To promote this drug, Purdue Pharma used extremely vile tactics. They hired over 3,000 doctors for paid promotion. In just 4 years, they expanded their sales team from 318 to 671. They collaborated with McKinsey to customize addiction reward strategies. For each confirmed addiction, distributors received a reward of $14,800. After corrupting FDA officials, they became high executives in America. This drug went from less than $5 million in sales in 1996 to over $3 billion by 2010. In 2011, Purdue Pharma made $1 billion from OxyContin. As a result, over 7 million Americans fell into drug dependence. This caused 560,000 deaths. Death tolls from fentanyl are rising sharply. Purdue Pharma claims to deliver people, but they don't specify where they deliver them to. Physical delivery is still delivery. Why doesn't America ban marijuana? Ultimately, it's about money. In 2022, the marijuana industry brought in an astonishing $30 billion. It is projected to reach $65 billion by 2030. In just 8 years, it will double. It is expected to become a billion-dollar industry. Instead of letting Mexican cartels profit, it's better to befriend marijuana. This way, middlemen won't profit. Currently, in the US, only 3 states are completely non-marijuana. 37 states allow medical marijuana. And 24 states allow recreational use. Since Colorado legalized marijuana in 2014, its cumulative tax revenue has exceeded $1 billion. Alaska, a North American tourist destination, welcomes over 2 million tourists annually, driving $2 billion in spending. Marijuana consumption has become one of the main reasons for tourists. Isn't this the mindset of the late Qing? Better to keep profits domestic than let foreigners profit. But America forgets. This was the start of the Qing's downfall. For American politicians, marijuana is not just business, but votes. With a population of 335 million, over 60 million have used marijuana by 2024. More than 2/3 of the US population, approximately 200 million, support legalization. This translates to many votes. Legalizing marijuana can both earn money and gain votes. Why wouldn't politicians want this? How did the once great beacon of humanity become what it is today? The answer lies in the deindustrialization of America, which was once overwhelmingly industrial. While Eastern powers now account for 30% of global manufacturing, this is merely at pre-World War II American levels. In 1945, the manufacturing workforce comprised 38% of the U.S. population. In 1950, manufacturing output was 40% of the global total. In the 1950s to 1970s, the U.S. GDP was impressive, accounting for 33% to 56% of the world. Industrial output was 43% of the global total. Gold reserves were 72% worldwide. In 1960, the U.S. GDP was equivalent to the sum of the next 9 countries combined. The streets were filled with cars produced by General Motors and Ford, with an annual production of 11.8 million vehicles. On average, there was 1 car for every 1.3 Americans. However, starting in 1970, the number of people employed in American manufacturing has decreased from about 19 million to less than 12 million in 1990. This decline has surpassed 30%. At the same time, the contribution of manufacturing to GDP has dropped from about 25% in 1970 to around 11% in 2020. As a result, the U.S. trade deficit has risen significantly. This was especially true after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1990. The U.S. has transferred manufacturing on a large scale. Things that could be produced before can no longer be produced. Items that didn't need to be purchased now have to be bought. The decline of America is evident to everyone. Americans are aware of it too. From the moment advanced fighter jets from Eastern powers were developed, the U.S. realized that its military hegemony would not last for long. In their analyses, even if the U.S.'s most advanced aircraft used an 8-to-1 strategy, they would still face total defeat. If global hegemony is to be maintained, the U.S. will inevitably collapse. Thus, they can only choose strategic contraction and focus on managing their own base. This is why the U.S. suddenly proposed to control the Panama Canal and purchase Greenland. Greenland is like a gateway for the U.S., very close to the mainland. Deploying a large military presence there would control key points in the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. More importantly, Greenland has abundant oil and rare earth resources. It controls the Arctic shipping routes. With global warming, the value of the Arctic routes is increasing. Additionally, Greenland is the shortest route for U.S. intercontinental missiles flying to Russia. The U.S. is making moves to control these strategic locations, which indicates preparation for conflict. In this world, the only powers the U.S. is preparing against are those major nations. Of course, the U.S. is not unified internally. Some believe that the U.S. should control the Panama Canal and Greenland. This is a contradiction that needs to be addressed. They want to demonstrate their strength, fostering divisions while maintaining unity. Currently, the U.S. is in a position of relative weakness not seen in nearly a century. Meanwhile, Eastern powers are at their peak. The transition of the U.S. from global hegemon to a second-rate nation is happening much faster than expected. The U.S. has misjudged many situations. They thought they could exploit Eastern nations like they did with Japan, but underestimated the resolve of the Eastern people. Even in dark times, many believe that China would return to the pinnacle of the world. This belief is deeply ingrained in their culture. It is an inherent conviction. Today, the U.S. is repeating the mistakes of the past. 20 million people are addicted to drugs. Once a manufacturing empire, it has fallen to financial games. The elite sacrificed the future of the nation for profit. The decline of the U.S. is irreversible. It is accelerating. A former U.S. official who rang the alarm never imagined that, when the great powers stand atop history, the Qing dynasty had already been waiting. Finally, it is hoped that everyone will follow closely, witnessing the exciting cycles of history. Do not miss any important turning points.